Hey everybody, and welcome back. For those who don't remember, I'm Roddy.
I'm Landy.
And today we have our special guest, Bill. And again, we're just going to talk a little bit today, talk about moving to Mexico, the good and the bad, talk a little bit about Bill and his unique experience, which was building a house, which I think is something that a lot of people may be interested in when they move to Mexico. But first, Bill, if you don't mind, just kind of introduce yourself. Who are you? Who are you? What you do? All that kind of
what I did, actually just retired a couple of years ago. I was born in Los Angeles, and I was an editor for fitness magazines for about 25 years. And as magazines became less popular, thanks to the internet, I ended up without a job in my late 50s and ended up retiring a little earlier than I had anticipated. And because I was sort of chewing through my savings, I ended up not having as much of a nest egg as I wanted. So I was looking at somewhere to retire that was a lot less expensive and also good weather, because you can find places in the States that may be less expensive, but maybe places you don't want to live.
Like Houston.
So I did a lot of online research. It was during COVID, and I was looking at Spain, and that was probably my first choice, except during COVID, it was just really almost impossible to try to get there and do any research. So I decided to stay somewhere closer to home and chose Mexico. I looked at Puerto Vallarta, Ajijic, Merida, a number of different places. And I went to visit some of them, and I kind of liked the mountain environment better. It's the beach is a little bit more expensive, and I tend to not want to get too much sun for my skin cancer that I've had. So I chose a higher elevation. The cost was great. People have been fantastic. The weather year-round has been perfect. I can't complain. I mean, even on the hot days, it's not that hot, and it never gets that cold. So I really have enjoyed the weather, especially from someone from Southern California who is used to good weather most of the time. So I came here and I loved it. It was clean. It's a clean city. A lot of people think Mexico is not clean, but this city was particularly clean, and really appreciate that. And here I'm living in a brand new home in a new community. It's a master plan community, so it's double guard gated and really clean. So I appreciate that.
And how long have you been here in Queretaro?
Well, I've lived in this house for a few months. I was in another part of the town renting while this house was being built. That took a lot longer than I anticipated. But I've been here about a year and a half now total.
Okay, nice.
I remember you mentioned that you also checked Ajijic, right?
I did,
It has very lovely weather. Where is the top weather?
Right, in the world.
In the world, like number 2 or top 1 best weather. But what made you choose Querétaro?
Well, there's a couple of things. I did a lot of online research, so I let a lot of other people check things out, and I followed what they were saying. And Ajijic for me was too many cobblestone streets. I have a problem with my ankles; they roll a lot, and the idea of walking on cobblestones, which requires me to put my head down and make sure. That sounds crazy. Yeah, it really does. And then they had a big homeless dog population there, and it's kind of a little small for me. I wanted a bigger city. There's a lot of things I liked about it, but I'm glad that I didn't go there in the end.
Okay.
And how long? I know you mentioned a few places you went to. You said you went to or just did online?
Did both.
Both. Okay. It's like the place that you did go to, like Puerto Vallarta, Ajijic. How long did you stay there? I mean, to kind of get a feel. Was it like a short 1 or 2 weeks? Or
Unfortunately, we're short. The good news is that if you're good about doing your YouTube research, and there's really, if you get into it, you can find a lot. It really makes it a lot easier because you can kind of see some of the things, and people are pointing out the things they don't like and they like about it, so that you're kind of, the red flags are going off, so you're looking for them. So it didn't take me long. I went to Merida, and the weather wasn't great.
I've heard.
And it wasn't clean. I didn't think it was clean. I don't know. I'm sort of a nature lover, which is why the house that I have is sort of designed to give me views of nature. And so cleanliness is just sort of, I want to see things that are natural, not man-made stuff.
And I think that's one of the things that people always mention about Querétaro, is that it is considered one of the cleaner cities. I think it's even been awarded like cleanest city a few times over the last 10 years. So it definitely is very nice here as compared to other places. I think it's changing a little bit. I don't know if you've been to Central lately.
Well, I don't go there often because I have a larger American car that doesn't fit well on the streets down there. But when the times I've been there, the Centro has been really clean.
Right. I think overall, and like I said, compared to other places in Mexico, bigger kind of touristy places, or whatever you want to call them, I think so. It's definitely a lot cleaner. And then for those who don't know, you live in an area called Zibata, right? And about how far is that to Central?
It's about 20 minutes, but traffic can be good or bad depending on the day of the week or the time of day. It's, having lived in Los Angeles where everything was an hour and a half away, I don't think it's inconvenient at all. Right. So that's not a problem for me.
Because I think a lot of times people, when they're moving to another country, and in this particular case, Mexico, I think a lot of people always feel they want to kind of move to Central. I think that's kind of the consensus. Right. So what made you not choose Central?
Centro is gorgeous. It's a little bit high density, but Centro is, buildings that are centuries old, that have centuries old problems and sewer problems, and there's no parks in our Centro here. I can't speak for other, but I have a dog. I want parks. I don't like hearing my neighbors. I don't like hearing fireworks, in part because he doesn't like to hear fireworks. Sure. And it's just too much. I can go visit there if I want on a day trip or something, or out for dinner, but I'd rather have an open space and a little bit more peace and quiet. I am retired. Some people want that fast-paced lifestyle where they can just walk out the door and be, at a nice restaurant. But I'm sort of at a point in my life where this is more my style.
I think it's just like us. When we moved to Queretaro, we also stayed in the Centro for nearly 1 year. But afterwards, it felt too much noise. And then also some of the streets and sidewalks aren't flat. I have problems with my ankles, and it's a lot of rolling my ankles, and I just don't appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think on our side, we had our young son, which is difficult in itself because if they walk, or when he was walking, which he was barely walking, he was only like over 2. Like I said, cobblestone's very dangerous, or even if you have a stroller, it becomes very difficult on those very narrow cobblestone. And it's fun. It was nice to be able to, we really lived in a very good area. We just walk out the door. We were 2 blocks to the Residency, right by the big church and Constitution. Right. So we were a great location. Just walk out, everything we needed.
And that's all gorgeous. But it's just
after time, it's it kind of wears on you.
Once we come to where we lived, which is your neighbor Lakia area, so much green space. Everyone just enjoy it. That's Then we went back to the Centro, the feeling.
Right.
And then I know, like what you mentioned with centuries old problems. I know what I heard last time when we had the last big rain, maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. All those people were putting up videos of all the flooding that was happening there. Like you're talking. I remember the Constitution. Someone put a video of the Constitution Plaza, and you couldn't see the plaza. Right, just a fountain in the middle.
Well, and in the year I moved here, there were some big floods here, and people were posting YouTube videos of actually rivers going through city streets here. Now that's not common, but there are parts of the cities that are old, and it's was not designed to be draining this much water. I don't know if climate change exacerbates that at all.
Well, and it could be that thing plus development. I think both together, because you take away all the green space,
there's nowhere for water to
negative,
go.
Right?
Exactly.
So I think all these extra buildings, I'm sure that has a little bit to do with it, But like I said, we really do enjoy it out here, so we understand where you're coming from on that perspective. And so one of the things we mentioned in our introduction was, a lot of people people always want to decide rent or buy, right? And then I think sometimes when people decide, okay, I want to buy, I think obviously the easier. Well, maybe in my opinion, the easier way is just to buy like already built house, off somebody else, or like these new developments that are being built by these big, developers. Right. You chose to kind of go the custom home route. Right?
Well, partly because I have a back injury, for example, that makes walking upstairs a challenge. And I had a home in Vegas, and it's just like, that's one of the things I wanted was a house that's one level. Well, they don't make those in Mexico for the most part.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything is, 2-3 stories, and some of the designs are amazing. You can have great views on the roof. Sure. But getting up there is, I found myself in Vegas sleeping on the couch because I didn't want to have to walk up the stairs. So I really wanted something that wasn't being offered. And it's only 2-bedroom, 2-bath, which is, again, most houses here, you're seeing 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom for very big families.
Sure.
And they also have 5 bathrooms. And it's just like, why do I want all that space? I had that in California, and I don't want to have to deal with it again. So I'd rather, if I'm going to build something, and I wanted a lot of windows, and I wanted a softer floor. I don't have a tile floor because of my feet. And then, so I was able to do some things that I couldn't do normally. If I had to do it over again, I would probably see if I could find a builder who was working on something that I could customize.
Right.
In terms of, maybe a 2-story where there's a bedroom upstairs and 1 bedroom downstairs,
right,
where that became a guest bedroom or something.
Yeah.
And then I could put my own floors in, because they tend to go with these really hard floors here.
Yeah.
And then, work on, obviously the amount of space in the backyard is a concern for me, that it's sort of overlooked here. They kind of pack people in high density, and I
do
prefer, a little bit more. I don't want to see my neighbors, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to see me.
Yeah. I think most people don't, but I think that's something people definitely become aware of very quickly when you move to Mexico.
Right.
Most places you live, or most places we've seen, neighbors are very close, like you said, on top of each other.
Right. Pretty much. Yeah. So.
And as far as the building process, I think, how did you approach it? Like what was your thinking, and how did that?
Well, I decided, I kind of made the list of things that I wanted, which I obviously looked at resale homes first and new homes, what they had. I wasn't finding what I wanted, and so I decided I was going to build, and I had to interview some builders. That was a challenge, given that you don't have the resources like you might in the U.S. to check out some people and check their work, get references. It was a lot more challenging. The process took a lot longer, probably double the time that I had expected and was told it would be.
Are you talking about the whole process?
The whole process, start to finish.
Okay.
And it went over budget. It went significantly over budget. And when I moved in, I still did not have a kitchen because I ran out of money. So I ended up selling my car, and I'm adding things slowly, which is why this house isn't quite finished yet. But it's happening. So getting there.
And so when you first started, you said you interviewed builders. What were some questions you asked? What were things you were looking for as far as quality builder in your?
Well, the most important thing. Well, there's a lot of important things, but I wanted someone who'd been in business for a while, who had references that I could see. I want them to take me to some of the best houses they've done. I don't want to just see a house they've done. I want to see some of the best stuff they've done, so I could check the quality and get references from people. Some builders were hesitant to do that, and I dropped them because I didn't feel if they can't do that. That's pretty basic. If they can't meet that, then I'm not going to roll the dice and risk it.
Now, are you talking about houses? When you're saying houses that they've built, like where people were already living in them,
either
or still like in the process,
or both.
And did you get to go into houses that people?
Absolutely.
And how were they? Was the family okay with that? They're pretty.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting because the builder I went with, every single person we visited were raving. They were like best friends with the builder, and they were happy to see him. And that's kind of a sign that he's doing good work, and that they feel good about what they've done. So there's sort of intangible things you have to kind of pay attention for, and just take that note of that. Yeah.
So how you find those builders?
Well, that was the hard part, because when you come in as an American with a wad of cash, and that's basically guys paying a cash home, everyone wants to do it for you. So it was really hard. I stayed in Airbnb before I got here. Well, that guy ended up being a builder, so I had checked him out. I got some other referrals from people online. I checked them out. Now that I've got this done, I look on Instagram, and you click on one builder, and everyone comes up as an ad, right?
Oh, right.
So now I'm seeing all these beautiful things that I had no idea existed. So maybe if I started that process on Instagram earlier, I might have had more ideas. I got referred to an architect who actually designed this. And this house probably would cost like $700,000 in the U.S.
Yeah.
And
like California, U.S. or just
well, I mean, just in an average, let's just say average city, average.
Sure.
I mean, obviously in LA or somewhere it's going to cost more, but I built it for about $300,
nice.
which was a little over budget. But that includes the land. I bought the land separately and the house. It was all custom done, and I live in a double gated community. But the thing is, I mean, in Mexico, my HOA monthly is less than $100. My electric, my water, my gas, they're about $15-$20 a month. My phone is $20. My cable, which is high, is $30.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's just the bills that I was paying in Vegas. My electric bill was almost $300 in some months for a townhouse. So that was really one of the reasons that this appealed to me, was to get a better control over my budget. My car insurance in the States was $300 a month for an old car, and here it's $500 for a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it just
really save a lot of money.
I'm on a fixed income, and so it was important to get better control of those costs. Now, there is a one-time cost of moving here that's kind of expensive.
Right.
So to get that all rolling, once you're in place, it's something you can maintain. But the one-time cost is expensive.
You mentioned the price of a building, and so can you share how big is this lot? And
well, this lot is 343 square meters.
Okay.
Which is
it's pretty big.
Times 10.7 would be about 4,000 square feet.
Okay. Yeah.
But the house itself is about 2,000 square feet. But if you were to look up, the ceiling is 14 feet high in here.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to take advantage of less expensive construction costs. And I got a whole bank of windows on the north side, looking at some mountains. So it's so I tried to maximize things that, like, I like views, so I've got all windows here. So
that's one of the first things that struck me when we walked in, was the high ceiling and then this kind of window
wall,
right?
And then I put a fireplace in between the office and here. It just, I don't know, some fun things I was able to do with my architect.
Nice.
That personalize it a bit.
Right. And then, how's your Spanish?
Well, fortunately, I had 6 years in junior high and high school.
Okay.
But that unfortunately is a long time ago. So that has been helpful. If people are typically good and they speak slower, and they kind of tell I'm a gringo. So
and the reason I ask is because how did that translate, like with the builder and
well, my builder was European, so that worked out. I've had people work for me who were Spanish, and it's been a challenge, especially because sometimes you ask them for very specific things, and the specific item is not one that you studied in 6th grade.
Sure. Right.
It was basically conjugating verbs and whatnot, but it's manageable.
Okay, because I know you have like the builder, and then I would assume they have like a construction manager.
Correct. And he didn't speak English at all.
He didn't speak English. Yeah. Right? So that's what I was trying to figure. Like, was there any complications? And
well, I usually go through the builder.
Or just kind of contact him.
Yeah.
Okay, so that
for
helps.
Those things. Yeah.
And you say European. I'm assuming European. From where?
Switzerland.
Okay, so
and he lived in the States.
Okay.
So I mean, so it's things. I mean, a lot of companies that deal with international. I mean, if you're a big builder here, you're going to have international customers.
Sure.
So chances are you're going to have someone that speaks English.
Good, and that's good to know, because I think for a lot of people who may consider wanting to build, that may be a concern they may have. So I think it's good to know that there are big reputable.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't Puerto Vallarta, where a lot of people in any kind of sales position are going to speak English.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So or Mexico City. So it's harder to find. But then I kind of consider this more of a uncovered gem of a city, as opposed to something that everybody knows about. Everyone knows about San Miguel, which is a 40-minute drive from here.
Right.
But very few people talk about Queretaro, and this is a beautiful area and a beautiful part, and it's so close.
The builder is located in Queretaro or outside?
My builder is a private individual.
A private individual.
He lives in Juriquilla.
Juriquilla.
Okay, in Juriquilla area, which is pretty popular for foreigners.
Right.
Expats living.
Yeah, but I think you're right about Querétaro being that kind of little unfound gem. I think it's kind of gaining popularity, but when you go online, you see things about people, where should I move? You see that question 10 times a day. In different forms. Where should I move? And everybody mentions everywhere else, but Queretaro.
Well, it's interesting because I mean, everyone's got their preconceived notions. Where should you move? It depends on what you want.
Right.
I mean, if you're looking for a beach environment, you're going to go to the coast, but then you have to deal with hurricanes.
Right.
So
and the heat and humidity.
Right.
And the sand.
And it's seasonal, and maybe even floods and kinds of things like that you're going to have to deal with. But I wanted. You go to northern Mexico and it's a lot hotter and it's a lot drier, and they're having some of the same water issues that southwest United States has. Mm-hmm. So here we're in rainy season now and we get tons of rain. So it's kind of nice that, having come from California where everyone's watching their water, watching your water.
And the rain here, even rainy season, they mostly they arrive in the evening.
It's pretty predictable.
Yeah.
Almost like Florida. It's almost like the heat of the day causes the water to evaporate, and then as it cools off, boom, it's all coming back down.
It all comes down, right?
And I love the thunderstorms too.
Oh yeah. I know. We get some big torrential thunderstorms here, and you can see them, especially being up here, and like even where we're at, you can kind of see them everywhere around.
Or in a valley, and you can just see the lightning all over the place, and it's really pretty to watch.
Yeah. What made you choose Zibata, not Quer&eacute? Did you also check some land or lots over there?
I did. To me, I like living in a master plan community because it just feels like it's well designed. Right. And that's what I'd grown up in California, and everything sort of integrated really nicely and pretty. There weren't signs everywhere. There wasn't, one home, one style versus next door, one that was a color that you just didn't belong. Quer&eacute is kind of like that.
Okay.
Where everyone does their own thing and no one really is looking out for the greater aesthetic of the community.
Now, so I guess speaking on that, are there certain parameters you had to meet to build this house?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. They are a bit strict.
They're too strict.
This is Ricky.
How long to get the permit?
It took a couple of months. Yeah, there's a bunch of hoops you have to jump through, and as an American, you have no idea what they are. So you really need someone to walk you through it. And it's not hugely expensive, but it's bureaucratic. And during latter parts of COVID, it took time. It took time.
We know everything takes time in Mexico. Everything kind of slow.
A little bit slower.
Slow.
Yeah, patience is, they say be patient. You have to be patient. It does, it moves at a slower speed. But you know what? I kind of wanted a slower speed when I moved here.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I know you mentioned the time period. Mm-hmm. What was the time period predicted, and what was the actual time period?
Well, I think I was told. I mean, as few as from once we got the green light, maybe 4 months. But even because there's a one-story house, it took 8.
For total?
Yeah,
8 months. Okay,
for the construction. Well, and as I see the houses going up near me, I see that it does in fact take that long.
Yeah,
because this whole process is new for me. How they build houses here, everything from the plumbing to the construction materials to the roofing to the ventilation and everything. It's much different than what I was used to in the U.S. and it is a lot slower process.
Yeah. What are some of those differences you kind of noticed?
Well, like air conditioning and heating, they don't build in central air. This is, I've got a room air conditioner in my bedroom. But for the most part, it's pretty cool. But I have fans in all the rooms just to help, because that keeps it a little bit cooler. Fortunately, here in Zibata, all the electrical and gas is underground, which I appreciate. That's not like that in a lot of places in Mexico.
Yeah.
So it kind of cleans all those wires that we all see. To me, they're kind of an eyesore. So I appreciate the fact that that's underground. Other things are the materials. Concrete is a different material. Now they have that in Florida a lot, which is great for hurricanes. But when you try to hang a picture,
we've gone through that a couple times. Yeah,
it's just you have to learn how to do it a little differently.
Yeah, you got to use that little mason drill and stuff, right?
Yes, exactly.
Or any pipe issue that another get drilled in.
Oh yeah.
When we live in the central, we had the problem.
We had a leak.
Yeah.
Right, and so you can imagine, because it came through the ceiling.
Right.
So how long did it take that leak to get to the concrete before we noticed it? How long?
Right.
Right. And then by the time we noticed it and we saw that water was leaking, then
so
obviously in your house, then you got to go in and demo. You got to knock out all the concrete and get in there, and that's a whole process. So I think when your homes like what you have, hopefully that shouldn't be an issue.
Hopefully.
Right.
Yeah, but that could definitely be something to.
Well, I had a couple of windows. I mean, I've got some really high windows, and I had a couple of them had small leaks, but that was easy to fix.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty good rainstorms that I think it's made it through those. I don't think there's many more to discover.
Yeah. And then kind of going back, something you mentioned earlier was you're kind of on a you're retired on a fixed income. Is your income based like on a 401k, or is it just like Social Security? How
well, unfortunately, when I was unemployed, I spent a lot of my 401k.
Okay.
So, like most. So it's Social Security, and and when you're living in Mexico, one other thing is the exchange rate, because what the U.S. pays me in U.S. dollars is not necessarily what I'm going to be spending here. And within the last 8 months or so, the exchange rate has gone the wrong way. When I say wrong, you lose 15% of your money based on just the conversion. So before you spend a single penny, you got 15% fewer pesos.
Right.
So that certainly hasn't helped, but that can swing the other way too.
Yeah.
So that's just one of those things.
But when you purchased this one, the exchange rate was still pretty decent.
Right. I think my last couple of payments, I was taking 10% hits.
Yeah.
You're starting to
Just
feel
a couple of them.
Right.
And they weren't big, but for the most part, I was getting 1-to-1. 20 to 1.
Yeah. Which was very good time.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. But now it's 17 to 1, but next week it could be 20 again, or it could be 15. Who knows?
Right. And so far you feel, even though the peso's been dropping, you still feel, for the most part, comfortable, on your day to day and everything as far as your living expenses.
Well, I kind of, tighten my belt like everyone else just does a little bit more, because I simply can't, if you have $350 less money each month to deal with, it has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
So, you just tighten it up a bit. And again, I mean, I wouldn't even be able to afford, I couldn't even afford a rental house in California, just the rent, let alone anything else in my life.
Yeah.
And here I've got everything going, and I can live on it, on my Social Security. So.
Still be very comfortable, right?
Pretty comfortable,
right? And then for things, one of the things when people move here, that they need to consider are things like, for we talked about car insurance or health insurance. I know you mentioned you have car insurance,
right?
Health insurance,
yeah. So that has been problematic.
Okay.
Now, one of the great things is I can go see a doctor for anything. I go to a dermatologist every 6 months. That only costs me $50, and he treats me for whatever he finds. Okay. So I don't have to pay additional, like in the U.S., they'll find a bunch of basal cell, and each one is a couple $100, and you get it all adds up. Insurance companies can pay for it, but here it's pretty much included. Now, I was hospitalized a couple times over a year ago without insurance.
Okay.
And that really hit me hard. You need insurance. The problem is, I was told it was going to be cheaper here. I did not find that the case.
Really?
Now, that's because I was looking at private insurance. Those are oftentimes U.S. companies that expect U.S. profits. It had a $2,500 deductible, and it was almost $3,000 a year.
Oh, for the insurance?
Yeah, before anything. So I'd be paying over $5,000 a year to get almost nothing. So right now I'm not insured. I'm sort of self-insured. Next year, my plan, when I turn 65, my plan would be to get Medicare in the United States.
Okay.
And then if I had issues, I would go back regularly to get things taken care of. And then for things like accidents or illnesses, you just use the system here.
Right.
Now, the doctors I was is a private hospital. Private hospitals are going to be more expensive.
Right.
You can use the public system. I haven't ventured that yet. I know the cost of insurance is a lot less.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
But not there yet, knock on wood. But that's why I'm doing my cardio every day to keep my heart healthy and my blood pressure down. So I don't have any problems.
But still, even $50 to see I'm assuming a specialist, or that's just a general?
Any specialist.
Right. Yeah.
Any specialist.
We think we pay $70 to see ours, which is 50 to 70 to see a specialist or a doctor.
Yeah.
But again, you'll never find in the U.S. I mean, that's
right.
So that might be your
and it's not just that they're going to treat you for that money. They're not going to just say, okay, it's going to be all this extra money.
Right. And then, or see you for 5 minutes and then send you to all the other specialists.
Right.
Right. Here, like, I think a lot of the doctors,
exactly,
unless they are a specialist, they do treat you pretty well.
Yeah. Especially the private system. I've been really happy with that. But I had ended up having colitis in the hospital. I got colitis, and I don't know if I got it in the hospital or what, but That was a problem.
Stomach issue? Colitis?
Yeah, that's where the bad bacteria take over your gut, which can be deadly, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
that was clear.
That recovery was really horrendous.
No.
So do you have a residence card here already?
I am a temporary resident.
Temporary.
Okay.
Can you also enjoy, like, get a free Medicare here in the public hospital?
Not that I'm aware of. Medicare is only U.S.
Oh, I think
No,
you mean
I'm
like Mexico
talking about
Medicare,
yeah,
or whatever, the public system.
Public system. My understanding is that I could pay. Now I was told $700 a year to sign up for that insurance. I don't know how good it is. I don't. And maybe it could serve as a catastrophic plan. I don't know, but I don't even know if it's any good.
Right.
So that's a little bit. Some of that research is hard to find out because, again, I mean, one of the problems here is lack of information. Finding builders and things like that. It's not like it's on the internet and it's in English.
Right.
It's really hard to get information that's accurate and regional.
Sure.
So that's one of the downsides. But yes, health insurance is something I need to figure out, I would say.
Yeah, because I know, like, we have the public hospital right down the road from both of us. Again, we've never experienced it ourselves. I think it's just something we've heard is that it can be a little bit slow, as far as, I guess, like everything in Mexico.
Right.
But again, now for emergencies, like you mentioned, catastrophic, incidents, I have no idea, right? So I don't know if anybody out there knows, who could, maybe who's been through that experience, because I think that is something important for people to understand, right? Difference between the private system and the public system, and the pros and cons.
Yeah. Well, when I had colitis and I went into the hospital, it was the day after Christmas, and I mean, I was treated like a VIP. I mean, I just got in just like that, and so it's kind of like a haves not system here, unfortunately.
Sure. Yeah, I think so. Now, something I've heard, and maybe you can speak to it on that particular case, was that if you go in for something a little bit more serious, that they kind of ask for money up front or a card. Yeah. So
they wouldn't let me out without paying.
Right. Oh no, but I'm talking like even before they treat.
They asked me money in advance.
Money in advance.
Oh yeah.
Just like last year, I had an operation when we went to the room before they started.
Card, please.
Yeah. This is a certain percentage you have to pay now. And
so you should really have like an emergency credit card just on hand,
right?
That you don't run up
just kind of save it there, right?
to be there in case of emergency, because that is one thing that I was warned about, and thank God I had that.
Yeah.
Because they want that money in front.
Up front, or at least make sure that they have that access to it.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe have that could be some people's medical plan. It's good. It's something for catastrophic incidents, right? At least you have some kind of,
Well, catastrophic is going to be something that costs you $50,000.
Right. And colitis is not, catastrophic. But I think anything that could be an emergency or could be serious.
More emergency oriented, right. Yeah.
Which is great. And so I know you I think this kind of goes with what you did before. You said you worked in Muscle and Fitness.
I was editor of Muscle and Fitness, a bodybuilding magazine.
Right.
Yeah.
And you said you kind of stay healthy. How do you find it staying healthy here? Like, what do you do here in Mexico? Do you go to gyms? Do you just kind of go outside?
Well, they have gyms here, like anywhere else in the world at this point. Everyone has gyms. They're a little bit more pricey here, but they're not super crowded. They have part of the HOA has a clubhouse. There's just not a lot of equipment there, but it's a very active area. People could go running, walking, jogging. There's health clubs, La Loma down the road, which is a super deluxe, high end.
I've heard
massively amazing health club. But it's not unlike the opportunities you can find in the States. Not some of the recreational things you're not going to find. Like there's not lots of golfing or stuff like that. There's some, but not lots.
Yeah, there is a golf course in Zapata. Right?
There's a golf course. We're about a block away from it, right here.
Oh, okay.
I don't golf.
You don't golf? Okay.
Do you know the price? Is that expensive to get a membership?
Well, golf courses typically are expensive, but
general,
this being Mexico, I'm guessing it's not as bad.
Sure.
So my brother lives on a golf course in Huntington Beach, and I think it was $10,000 to join US $10,000, and it's like no.
And you still got to pay your fees, right? Or no?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
That's beyond us.
But yeah, I mean they have some of those, but there's also hiking. A lot of things. I just got an e-bike, so I can pedal around the hills and stuff. There are some steep hills here.
Do you have a swimming pool in this neighborhood?
We do, yeah.
Okay. For this particular
Yeah, the complex. I don't know you're gonna get a lot of laps in. But it's not super huge.
Yeah. That's another thing I think we've noticed here in Mexico in these newer builds. A lot of them do have pools, but the pools tend to be a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Right? But at least it's still an option. At least because I know back in the U.S., a lot of neighborhoods they don't even have them at all. But
well, like a lot of townhouse. I mean, this is considered a condo complex. Believe it or not, it's single family homes. But I don't know why they call it that, but they do. So we have a clubhouse. The HOA I think is $50 a month, for maintenance and everything. So that's another thing. You're not going to find a HOA in the States for $50.
No. It may be a little bit more, but still, yeah, $50 a month, right?
Yeah.
Still great. And so, what other things have you found, to kind of stay busy? Now you're retired. I know you said you do kind of work out, exercise. Have you, if you go out to Zapata or anywhere else, what do you kind of do to stay busy?
Well, I mean, there are, first of all, building a house takes a lot of time, and you never want to be too far away because decisions are being made that you want to keep your eye on, right? So, I got my pets, so I like to take him for a walk. I like to get outside when the weather is nice enough to do it. I don't get a sunburn, which because with the high altitude, I always have to keep some sunblock on for the most part.
Right.
But I do like sports. I like my American sports. So I have a cable channel. It's $30 a month, but I can get all my American sports on.
Okay.
So I can watch my games, my teams, and let's see. I also have been sort of playing with some e-magazine ideas, and that's kind of new for me. It's kind of the same information, but a new way of presentation. Yeah. So I've been fiddling with that, see if I can get someone to bite on that kind of a project.
Still along the same vein of fitness or something?
It's fitness, yeah. Fitness, I know.
Sure.
And you do something for 25 years and you just know it very well. I think that's what I'm good at. And it's just, I was doing print publishing and there's just no more print publishing. So what's a new way to get that information out? Well, maybe it's an e-magazine that's got animation and videos and things that are embedded in that make it more fun and interactive, that people, aren't going to go to the store and buy a magazine anymore. The one I designed was meant to be free. Right. So nobody wants to pay for information anymore either.
No. So you would do it for free. So that would just be something you would just do just for fun, or would you find some other way of revenue?
For that particular idea, I could sell ad pages in it, and the ads could be interactive even, where you can embed a video into the ad, or it could jump to their sales store. So there's lots of modern things you can do with those. When I say free, well, you have ad income that would offset all the editorial costs. But unlike a magazine where you have to print it and distribute it, this is almost nothing to produce.
Right. Your overhead would be very, very low.
And it's time easy to share.
Right.
Easy to share. Yeah. So all you got to do is get some people, if they like your product, they will come back for more. That's the way I feel about it.
Okay. And so would it just be kind of focusing on all aspects of fitness? I mean, is there something in particular?
I do more weight training and cardio, but also a lot of nutrition and diet and supplementation. There's a big chunk of the population that likes to go to the gym. And that's my strength, having worked at Muscle and Fitness and Muscle Mag. And so I feel like I can teach that. Now, a lot of people think they already know it all. There's a lot more nuance than people realize. So I try to focus on the nuance.
Yeah, we used to check the bodybuilding.com a lot.
Oh, I worked there too.
Yeah.
I was a writer.
She was a trainer for many years.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
I studied a lot.
I was a senior writer for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you make friends here?
That's probably the hardest part. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. One is the stage of life I'm in where I'm sort of retired. I don't like to go out. I don't have kids. I don't really have a family, so nothing drags me out. Yeah, I go to the gym. I go to restaurants once in a while, but it is harder to make friends, especially given the language barrier. But people have been friendly here. And I think part of it for me is I'm trying to make more effort to get out there. Right. So I ran into you at a meeting on Saturday, and that was me trying to get out. And it's harder. It is harder. It's a lot harder.
No, would you say that just like on a personal level, like as far as would you consider yourself more like introverted or just?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
so with that being said, again, we appreciate you doing an interview like this because we know sometimes that may be getting out of their comfort zone.
Well, having run magazines, you ended up having to learn how to do that. So
sure. Okay.
I think,
good point.
Given my own druthers, I would rather be a bit of a loner.
Yeah, I think a lot of people enjoy weights workouts, enjoy the solo time.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
That's why I don't join those group workouts. I always work out on my own.
Yeah, and the one tip I could give people is to get it done early in the morning, because the rest of your day will be so much better knowing that you've already got it done. You'll feel better about yourself for the rest of the day, and you'll make everything much easier the rest of the day. It just gives you that energy. You don't want to wait till after you've had a full day of work and come home and say, "Oh, I'm too tired to go to the gym." You've already got it done.
Yeah, done, right? Easy.
Yeah.
So how do you think about the expats, immigrants, whatever, COD group here? Is that
there is a this is a growing city in terms of, well, first of all, it's just growing. I mean, there's tons of construction everywhere you look, not just Zibataba, other parts of Queretaro. But more Americans are moving here because more Americans can't afford to live in the States. And I think that's just a growing reality. There's a tiny bit of a backlash to that because it does affect costs here for the people who live here. But then, as I say, well, what about the people from here who live there? That also affects costs, as well. So it's hard to separate everything out and say, well, this is, overall, I think for me, it's a chance to live a better life that I can't afford in the U.S. that I have to make some sacrifices for now, but they're not difficult ones to make. I like the Spanish language, I like the culture, I like a lot of the people. So it's an opportunity to keep learning and keep growing.
Have you made any Mexican friends?
I have,
yeah. Nice.
Mostly people my own age, but it's because when you go to the gym, it's usually a bunch of kids there, and for someone who's been working out for 40 years, that was kind of the place that you always make your friends. You just go to the same place all the time, and you meet people, and then you hang out with them. But now that I'm like dad, I don't talk to as many people at the gym anymore.
And what about family back home? When you told them you were coming to Mexico, was it, or family or friends back home? What was kind of the response to that?
Well, my brother married a woman from Puebla, so I think for them it would just seem natural. And mom didn't like it because I was further away from her.
Oh yeah.
I should say farther away. It has my copy editor in me. I don't know. I think people hang on to these feelings about what Mexico is that are more stereotypical, and then don't really know exactly the kind of life that one can have here. That could be equally fulfilling as living in the U.S., maybe without all the politics.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I enjoy here is just much less of dealing with all that.
Yeah, it's just it's less loud.
Yeah,
it's like the volume you can turn it way down.
Right.
Yeah, kind of separate yourself from it. And not have to worry about it as much. It's definitely a nice aspect of living here that you definitely notice. When you go out, all that noise, all that little signal is blocked from like TV, news, all that.
Right.
People, so it is a nice way to take a breath.
Right.
And relax while you're here.
Do your family or any friends came here to visit you?
Well, not yet. This house, in fact, is getting the second bed as we speak. I mean, it's there, but the bed's broken, so I had nowhere to put anybody. But those invitations will be going out as soon as I get my bed fixed. Again, I think a lot of people have this preconception of what Mexico is, and it's just like, gosh, if you ever, it's a 40-minute drive to San Miguel, and it's so gorgeous there. And there's some waterfalls and mountains near here that are I haven't seen them yet, that are supposed to be so pretty. And, it's all about, there is quality of life here. You just have to kind of go out and find it.
Right. Yeah, especially the summertime, the weather is just so comfortable.
Yeah, here in central Mexico.
Well, it's interesting because when you say summertime, for me, spring, summer, winter, fall are North American concepts. When you come to Mexico, it changes a little bit because
here summer is more April, May.
Right. And then once you get to June, July, well, you think that's summer, but it's actually rainy season.
Yeah,
right.
So that affects what kinds of things you might want to do during the day. But like the first year was all kind of a learning experience for me to figure out what the cycles of weather were. Because when you think spring, summer, winter, fall, it wasn't quite working out exactly that way.
Yeah, like people like where we're from, Houston area, it's just so hot in the let's say July to
September.
December, yeah, almost.
So where people think about, I'm looking for a cool place to cool down a little bit, then they go to what's the Colorado or New Mexico, certain areas, mountains, but also cost more. All the travel cost, food, everything's more. But people they should come here.
Well, I don't know that I want to encourage them all to come here. I don't know that you're going to reach 5 million people. But it's an option, and I think in a perfect world, I could live half the year here and half the year in the States. I'm not really sure it's something that I can kind of figure out. But there's other things I want to see and do.
Sure, and we've considered things like that even in the past, back here in the U.S., or even something like half year, half in a beach town, right? But I go during the nice season, go like December, January, February to the beach, live there when it's nice weather, and I think it's much more doable again here in Mexico than again if you're living in the U.S. Like, I want to live in Colorado and California, or Colorado and like Florida. That's probably gonna be out of the reach of most people, right? I think it's just more expensive to kind of areas, or travel. Everything is just more. Right. So it's much more of an option here. But it is nice to kind of keep it the secret a little bit in. Don't let everybody know.
But even they come here, they will not stay longer. Probably just 1 month.
I don't know. Everyone, I don't hear a lot of complaints when people, because I follow the expo. A lot of people come in to visit and announce they're coming, and I follow that. And a lot of people love it when they leave. I don't see a lot of people who don't. Make comments that city.
Terrible. Man. So and kind of going back and maybe kind of wrapping things up with the going back onto building and construction. Again, maybe knowing now, or if you know, what you knew then, what you know now, what was anything that you would have changed?
Probably would not have built it on my own. What I would have probably done is found a project that was in construction with a downstairs bedroom, not a big one, not a big project, but that I could have them adjust it for me, like choose the floors. Because a lot of places they're going to give you what they have, hard tile floors and whatnot. I could probably see if I could work with them on customizing something for me, which would have done two things. It would have kept the costs in control, which really ballooned out of control for me here, and it also would have quickened the process.
What were some of the reasons they gave you for the price not being what they quoted you?
Well, first of all, it was during a period where building materials were going skyrocketing.
True.
Cost of steel was, and that happened everywhere. It wasn't
COVID or
yes, exactly. That was it.
Yeah.
And so it was hard to get people to quote you prices that were firm when in fact things were fluctuating so wildly, and I mean really significantly, really fast. So that was one of the reasons. And maybe it was my own taste. I tend to be a little bit, I don't know what's the word, gay. That I like nice things, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the house again is very nice. Just walking around all the little small things, and notice nice materials and everything. The little not structured wall, wall here.
Things that the people I can't see who are watching from home.
So did you find all the materials by yourself? Where did you buy
Well, usually the best way is if go on Instagram or Pinterest and see what you like, and
show
then
the builder. Like,
and then you just start following people, and then you look through their inventories of what they like. A lot of people use Instagram as their catalog, instead of having a printed catalog.
For example, you see, I like this kitchen style or this countertop style. Then how you find them?
Was that from
which store?
Well, I just went to various stores and for the countertop anyway.
Oh, sure.
I went to some of the larger stores here. Some places my builder recommended to me.
Okay.
There is a very limited choice on some things for like ceiling fans.
Sure.
There was not a lot of choice. Things like some light switches and lights. You're finding very limited choices. Sometimes I would buy things from the U.S. and bring them up.
Oh.
What about like Home Depot here?
Yeah, what
Anything
about
like
Home
that?
Depot?
I mean,
We have a Home Depot.
I never.
It's kind of, I'd say, a low end.
It's not the same like in the U.S. where they have like
No, it's not all
low
like
to
the
high
US.
end. They have everything.
It's kind of like really low end.
Oh, okay.
But you can find. I mean, I got my fans there.
Okay.
I bought them online, not from their store
here.
itself. They had an online catalog,
Yeah.
which had better options, I think.
Okay.
But you're not going to get the variety of things you can get in the U.S. You're not going to get the variety, especially of higher end items. So your sort of choices are far more limited, I would say.
And I'm would assume like maybe you could speak to it like any higher end items probably going to come at a premium. Would you imagine?
Well, it's interesting because I have a quartzite countertop in my kitchen. That probably is a third the price it would have been in the U.S.
True. Yeah, we did talk about that earlier.
Partly because the cost of labor here is so much cheaper, and that's a big input for the cost in the U.S. So it depends on how much labor is involved for one.
Right.
Labor here is skilled labor. Unskilled labor is just simply less expensive here.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of the reasons you could build a house for a lot less.
Yeah.
You know. In fact, I had an auto mechanic work on my car, and things that were $1,000 to fix in the U.S., I could get for $150 here fixed. And it's like, it was shocking. It was so, I was shocked it was so inexpensive.
Did I hear that right? Like,
no, it was literally shocking.
Reasonable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For everything, whether maintenance and cars and housing and everything.
I'll get a housekeeper, and my understanding it's $25 to clean the house. So that is like, well, I don't.
I noticed that you also installed a dishwasher, right?
I have a dishwasher. I had that put in.
It's rare.
It is rare. I also put a garbage disposal in.
Wow.
That's very rare too. I put a soft water conditioner in. That's rare also. There are certain things I wanted to have in the house.
When we were looking for a dishwasher, we went to the Liverpool, which is the big mall here. That's where we found our dishwasher. And I noticed they don't have so many choices here, and the price are much higher. Not like in Home Depot back in the US, you have many choices.
You're right.
How much you spend on your dishwasher?
I don't remember. But the guy who did the kitchen, who worked for the company called Teca, which is a manufacturer, he got a 30% discount on everything. So everything I bought through them was less than the sale price from Liverpool.
Oh, okay.
So much less.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well. Yeah. I did my kitchen. I said I moved in without a kitchen. I say it's like an average sized kitchen. I would say it's above average quality for materials. And it cost about $12,000 to do the whole thing. And I think it would have been 30 in the US.
Yeah,
easily. That.
Yeah. Especially with the quartzite.
Yeah.
That's I know in the US
so
cost you.
I mean that turned out really nicely.
Yeah. Okay.
Any future plans? You plan to travel around, or?
I do. I think one of the things I'd like to do in the next year is start traveling like one weekend a month in a new city, where I either drive or take the bus. They do have a great bus system here. It's not like the metro in LA. It's like the deluxe buses that you take from the bus station. And it gets you there, and there's comfortable seats, and it's really first class, and it's really inexpensive. Or I could drive if it's not too far, and then I want to do a longer trip too. So we'll see. There's lots of local places I still want to go visit.
Sure.
So there's a lot on my list.
Any place in particular?
Yeah.
I'd say on top of the list.
I don't know how to pronounce the name. Las Postas. Oh gosh, there's some waterfalls in the mountains that are really blue.
Is that close to Moledia?
Quer&eacute? Does that sound right?
Oh, here in Queretaro, right?
It's in Queretaro.
Okay.
I know up in the mountains, up in this here to go down and stuff.
It's up in the mountains, but there's some wonderful. I've seen, if you go into YouTube, you can look these things up. The problem is I have pronouncing them or remembering them, but there's some really beautiful natural scenery.
Yeah, I don't know how the nice. hot springs, the natural hot springs.
That's it. Also, yeah. Hot springs.
Yeah.
Since we're in a volcanic, well, near a volcanic region, I also love volcanoes, so I want to go visit some of the volcanoes here when they're not spewing up.
Yeah, like out there in Puebla and everything.
Like Popocatépetl.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that one fast. Has been doing, but I'm fascinated by geology, so that's one thing I'd like to do.
Nice. Okay, so I mean, as we kind of wind up, I mean, are there any last little bits of advice for people who may be kind of considering moving to Mexico? Maybe anything you would offer to them as far as whatever.
I would say just keep an open mind. It's I mean, it's been tough. It's been a challenge, and it would have been easier to stay in the U.S., but it's obviously opened up lots of other opportunities for me, and I think that's part of growth is trying new things and keep learning as you get older. You don't want to just get too comfortable with your life, so that's all part of it.
Yeah, nice. Well, I think Bill, we appreciate the time. I mean, I think we've covered lots of good topics, very interesting. So Ricky, but once again, so thank you for everything.
Thank you. Good to have you here.
We appreciate the time.
Okay.
Lovely house. Maybe we'll take some videos.
All right.
And we'll talk to y'all next time. If you have any questions, comments, let us know, and we'd be happy to reach out. All right. Bye-bye.